I'm staying over tonight. Can you make room for all of us? Wait a minute. I already told you I have plans to go see a play tonight, and it'll be late when I get back. That's why I said we'd all stay here when her son wasn't home. His mom showed up unexpectedly with 7 friends. I hadn't been told about this visit, and I had my own plans, so I tried to say no. But you'll be back soon, right? We'll just leave our stuff here and go out for a while. Could you get dinner ready and set up places for us to sleep? She acted like she didn't care about my situation and acted as if everything was already arranged. To make things worse, I noticed the necklace she was wearing. I had put up with her rude behavior for a long time without saying anything, but this was too much. I can't. I'm leaving for a trip. You're going on a trip? Who's going with you? My unexpected refusal surprised her. I had finally reached my breaking point after enduring her constant nagging. Please give me back that necklace. It was time for my mother-in-law to face the consequences of her actions. My name is Michelle Gorman, and I'm a 30-year-old housewife. After I got married, I used my experience in administration to become a computer class instructor. My husband, Mike, is busy every day as the president of his father's company. Sometimes he seems lost in thought, but it makes me happy to see him relaxed, especially when we go on our favorite movie dates. I feel better when I'm with you, he often says. I'm glad if I can make his life a little easier. I wish I could offer him advice or suggestions, but I've always found it hard to speak up since I was young. I've preferred listening to others rather than talking about myself. My older brother, who's 4 years older than me, has always looked out for me. I used to dislike that about myself, but thanks to Mike's support, I've started to gain some confidence. Mike has an older brother who works as the vice president in their father's company. His wife, Mindy, is around my age, and we get along great. She's focused on her career, reliable and kind. I admire how she stands up for herself and shares her opinions. She's also understanding and flexible. Watching her stand up to the mother-in-law was really impressive. Unfortunately, they live far away, so I don't get to see them often, which I regret. On the other hand, the mother-in-law acts like she's the daughter of the company president, always confident, but her stubbornness and arrogance are clear. Michelle, you're Mike's wife, the president. You should quit your job as a computer instructor and fully support your husband, she'd say, putting a lot of pressure on me. Mike would support me, but she'd still be unhappy. Sometimes I was glad we lived apart. I just wanted a peaceful life with Mike and, hopefully, children someday. But then Mike's father passed away suddenly from a heart attack. It was a shock for everyone, and Mike and his brother had to figure out what to do with the family company. Mike decided to stay in New York for a while. I went back home and waited for Mike's updates with the extra responsibilities on both of them. I was worried. After talking with his brother, they decided that Mike would move to the company's main office in New York. His brother became the new president, and Mike became the vice president. We looked for a house in New York and found a nice one that was already built. It was a bit far from the train station, but it was in a quiet area which felt safe. The house had lots of sunlight, so it seemed like we'd have a comfortable life there. Since Mike had to work late because of all the changes at work, I made sure our home was cozy so he could relax and prepared healthy lunches for him. I wanted to do everything I could to support him, and just like that, a month went by. I'm back. I'm starving, Mike said. Thanks for working so hard, I replied. I'll make dinner. Hey Michelle, my mom wants to visit this weekend. Is that okay? I was worried that she might be feeling lonely since Mike's dad passed away, so I was glad to hear this. Of course, we still have some things to tidy up, but she's welcome, I said. Thanks, I'll tell her. Oh, maybe I should ask my brother and his wife to join too, Mike suggested. Yeah, that's a great idea, I replied. It might sound strange, but moving here meant I could see Mindy, my sister-in-law, more often, which was a nice surprise. That weekend, we all got together to talk about what had been happening and share memories of my father-in-law. It's sad that Dad's gone, but I didn't want to stay sad forever, so I started a new hobby, my mother-in-law said with a smile. She always looked elegant, wearing beautiful dresses and nice jewelry. Today, she looked stylish with a light purple scarf that stood out. She seemed to have lost some weight, but she was still firm when giving advice to Mike and his brother about the company. But since my father-in-law passed away, I noticed she was being stricter with me. Michelle, We're running out of drinks. Can you go buy some? She asked. Jessica, I can go get them, Mindy offered. Oh, can you? That would be really helpful, she said, sounding more demanding towards me than she did towards Mindy. I thought maybe she was struggling with the loss of her husband, so I decided to let her comments go for a while and just watch. After dinner, Mike drove everyone home, and the night was over. Since then, my mother-in-law started coming to our house a lot. She started criticizing how I kept the house and complaining about Mindy, and she started going through our fridge without asking, which surprised me. Michelle, Mike is so busy right now. You should pay more attention to the meals you make for him. What if he gets sick, too? Yes, I'll be more careful. And there's still trash here. Can't you clean up properly? I'm sorry. It kept going like this. It felt like she was just finding things to criticize about me to pass the time. But whenever Mindy came over, she quickly say she had other things to do. She said it wasn't because she didn't like me, but I felt differently. Maybe she found it easier to boss me around, since I hardly ever argued back, than to do the same to Mindy, who always spoke her mind. I thought about getting a job to spend less time at home, but even after I found one, my mother-in-law's harassment got worse. Michelle, we're out of barbecue sauce at our place, so get some while you're out. I brought some leftovers with me, so I'll take them. Her boldness sometimes left me speechless. She could easily afford to buy fancy ingredients from a fancy store. Then something happened. A necklace that was very special to me disappeared. It was a keepsake from my mother, and I always kept it safe on a shelf in my room. The only person who came to mind was my mother-in-law, since she visited often. Even though I didn't want to suspect her, she often looked around our house and probably knew where most things were. Despite searching everywhere, I couldn't find it, so I decided to ask her about it. That's when she exploded with anger, yelling, "You probably lost it yourself. How dare you accuse me? What kind of person are you?" I'm sorry. I searched everywhere I could think of, but I couldn't find it. It's a special keepsake from my mother, and it means a lot to me. More than feeling angry about being accused, I was devastated about losing something so precious from my mom, and tears started to fall. I don't care. It's just a necklace. Why don't you just ask Mike to buy you a new one? It's not about getting a new one, I realized. She wouldn't understand my feelings. I decided not to talk about it anymore, but then money from my wallet and other things around the house started disappearing. Even though I kept an eye on my mother-in-law, I never saw her take anything. Confused and tired of it all, I talked to Mindy about it. She said my mother-in-law was definitely the main suspect because no one else had access to our home. It made me sad to think that, but there wasn't any solid proof. I couldn't understand why she would do this, especially since she still had lots of money from my father-in-law's inheritance. Seeing how upset I was, Mindy had an idea. Little did I know where it would lead. About 2 weeks after talking to Mindy, I was getting ready for a trip. I'm heading out, Michelle said. Just relax and enjoy your time, Mindy replied. Take care, I replied. Mike and his brother were going on a business trip to meet with a company from another state. Mindy suggested I take a break too, and invited me on a short vacation. I've been feeling really drained lately, so the idea of getting away sounded nice. I packed early and left my travel bag by the door, ready to go. Then the doorbell rang. I wondered who it could be, so I checked the video feed and saw my mother-in-law, but she wasn't alone. She had a bunch of friends with her.
Hi, Michelle.
I brought some friends. Can you let us in? Opening the door, I saw my mother-in-law and about 7 of her friends, all carrying big bags. Were they planning to stay here? We're staying over tonight. Make us feel comfortable, she said. Excuse me, didn't I mention it? We're going to see a play nearby tonight, and since it ends late, we decided to stay here, she said casually. This was news to me, especially since my departure time was approaching. Oh, did I inconvenience you? Jessica told me you were okay with it. I hadn't heard anything like that, and it seemed like she was making up excuses. Feeling more and more frustrated, I responded firmly, I'm sorry, but I wasn't told about this, and I already have plans. She looked surprised by my answer. But you'll be back soon, right? We'll just drop our bags and go out for a while. Can you make dinner and set up beds for us? Ignoring my plans, she seemed to think everything was already arranged. I can't. I'm going on a trip, I said. A trip? Who with? With Mindy? Oh, just for Mindy? You can go anytime. We've come all this way just for today. How long are you going to make us wait? She pressed, disregarding my plans. Then I noticed something glinting around her neck. Wait, that necklace you're wearing, I said. To my astonishment, it was the same necklace that was a precious memento from my mother. Jessica, where did you get that necklace? Why, it's just one of my collections. Is there a problem? She replied with a smug look. That can't be right. That necklace is rare and limited edition, I said. While I was talking to her, Mindy arrived. I was wondering why you didn't show up at our meeting place and didn't contact me. So this is what was happening. I'm sorry I couldn't get in touch, Mindy said. Mindy, see my expression, I replied. Mindy instantly knew something was wrong. What's going on? She asked. I got upset because the necklace she's wearing is the same one that belonged to my mother, which recently went missing, I said. The one you kept in that box? Mindy said it loudly enough for everyone to hear. Suddenly, my mother-in-law, trying to keep it from her friends, whispered to us, Can you two stop this? It's embarrassing. Do you want to accuse me of theft? Yes, I find it suspicious, Mindy answered firmly. Do you have any proof that I stole it? It's embarrassing to have such unreasonable daughters-in-law, she said. Please, don't make a scene in front of my friends. She turned back to her friends with a smile. Well, let's go inside, everyone. As she tried to move inside, I remembered something. The initials, my mother's initials, are engraved on the necklace, Jessica. Can I have a look? Mindy quickly went behind her to check. Enough of this. What's your mother's name? She asked. It's Kate Young. So the initial should be K, I said, pointing out the engraving. The friends looked horrified and stepped back. Stop this. I didn't come here for this, one of them said, letting Mike go. Everyone, my mother-in-law insisted, we're not letting you leave. The friends, sensing the tension, quickly muttered, we're not involved, and hurried towards the subway. Wait, there's been some mistake. My mother-in-law tried to follow her friends, but someone stopped her. What are you doing here? Weren't you supposed to be on a business trip? Standing there was Mike. It turned out his business trip was actually scheduled for the next day. He had deliberately given his mother a false date to investigate her actions. Mindy had told Mike about the missing items from our house after I talked to her. At first, Mike was unsure, but after visiting his childhood home and seeing similar items to ours, he began to suspect theft. However, without evidence, he knew she could easily deny it. So he came up with today's plan. Inviting friends for an overnight stay was unexpected, but he was sure his mother would come as she thought he wasn't home. What are you doing here, Mike? Demanded my mother-in-law. I was just leaving, she said, as she tried to go, but I stopped her. Give it back. That necklace isn't yours. It's a keepsake from my parents. Why do you have it, Ma? I demanded. It's not what you think. I found it in my purse. Michelle must have set me up, she claimed, seemingly fearing she was in trouble. Do you really think such a lie would work? There's no way Michelle would do something like that, Mike said firmly. First, give the necklace back to Michelle. We'll talk after that, Mike said. Reluctantly, she took off the necklace, threw it on the ground, and tried to run away. Hey, wait. We tried to chase her but stopped shortly after. We didn't need to anymore. Huh. I was taken aback as 10 police officers stood in front of my mother-in-law. I was unsure about what was happening, just staring at the bizarre scene. Then one of the officers spoke up. We received a report from a local resident. They said someone who seemed to be causing a disturbance here was often seen entering this house when the owners were away. They asked us to come quickly. What are you talking about? I'm the mother of the son living here. Getting the police involved in a family matter? My mother-in-law retorted, looking annoyed. Wait, what do you mean she entered when we weren't home? I never did such a thing, I interjected. Did the informant say anything else? When we asked the police, they mentioned that someone had witnessed my mother-in-law sneaking into our backyard, likely using a spare key to get inside. Indeed, we had a spare key hidden beneath a plant pot in the backyard. This realization gave us chills and also explained the missing items. Mike had considered this possibility and was planning to observe her actions while we were out today, but he never expected to find out the truth in this manner. Mom, Why were you coming into our house when we weren't home? Mike asked. It's all lies. You're going to believe some unknown person's story? She retorted. But you did have my precious necklace, didn't you? I pressed. I told you. I found it in my purse. My mother-in-law insisted. One of the officers stepped in, saying calmly, let's talk about this at the station. But I didn't do anything, she pleaded. Mike, say something, she pleaded. Mom, stop this. I can't understand why you did this, Mike said firmly. Upon hearing her son's words, my mother-in-law collapsed to the ground. But just when it seemed like she had nowhere left to run and was feeling defeated, she suddenly flew into a rage. Because after your father passed away, I felt so lonely, and seeing her always so cheerful, I couldn't stand it. I felt better seeing her troubled. I wanted her to feel the pain I felt, she shouted. Mike was red-faced, hearing her irrational reasoning. Mike, wait, let me speak, I said, feeling the need to confront the issue head-on. I stepped in front of an increasingly angry Mike. I understand where you're coming from, Jessica. Perhaps I've been neglectful by always brushing off our talks. However, stealing is a different matter entirely. Did you want to upset me? Don't be ridiculous, she snapped. Did you find joy in pushing someone to their limits with such a twisted and dirty scheme? Did that fill the void of your loneliness? I asked, trying to understand her actions. Shut up. What do you know about me? She snapped back defensively. If you're feeling down, then tell us. We can't read minds, I said, trying to reason with her. Don't make fun of me. Why would I tell you anything? You worthless daughter-in-law, she lashed out. Mom, Michelle's right. Mike intervened firmly, seeing that the situation wasn't progressing. The police stepped in, suggesting they move to the station. Are you really going to take me in? I can't believe this, she protested. Despite her resistance, given the eyewitness accounts of the unlawful entry and a suspicion of theft from possessing my belongings, the police decided to question my mother-in-law. And so, she was promptly arrested on charges of unlawful entry and theft. She continued to protest her innocence, demanding a lawyer and refusing to eat the food provided. During a visit from her father, he expressed his anger and urged her to deeply reflect on her actions. This stern admonition prompted a change in her demeanor as she tearfully apologized. Despite her typically carefree nature, her father's authority seemed to be the only one she wouldn't challenge. He warned her that unless she genuinely reflected on her behavior, she shouldn't expect to have a home to return to. Reluctantly, she appeared to accept the reality of her situation. Perhaps the loss of her husband had left my mother-in-law searching for her place in the world. Were her expensive clothes and jewelry merely a shield to protect herself? I even began to wonder if her differing treatment of me and my sister-in-law was just a facade to conceal her vulnerabilities. However, her excessive desires and inability to control them were a separate issue. It was clear that making wrong judgments had led to this unfortunate incident. I was shocked to see the situation escalate to such a degree, especially realizing that my mother-in-law had been using a spare key to enter our house without our knowledge. It genuinely terrified me to think about the potential dangers of someone entering our home without permission. Later, I discovered that the couple living diagonally across from us had reported her. The wife, who works from home, had noticed my mother-in-law entering our yard suspiciously multiple times and found it concerning. I'm incredibly grateful for their courageous actions. Since then, we've been enjoying a peaceful life. To ensure our safety, we changed our locks and stopped hiding a spare key in the yard. Mike decided to cut ties with his mother and made her promise not to contact us again. He warned of legal action if she attempted to do so. After her release, she returned to her rural childhood home and reportedly adopted a more modest lifestyle, a significant change from her previous lavish ways. Under the watchful eye of her father, she now helps around the house from early morning. I sincerely hope she takes this opportunity to reflect on her past behaviors. Meanwhile, my own father has moved in with us as a precaution against any further unexpected visits from my mother-in-law. He's here to ensure my safety, but there's another reason he's with us. I'm currently expecting our first child. The anticipation of becoming grandparents, coupled with the support of Mike, fills me with a sense of warmth and determination. While material possessions can bring temporary satisfaction, it's the presence of loved ones that truly enriches our lives. As we discuss our living arrangements, surrounded by our dear ones, we are committed to preserving the peace and happiness of our daily lives. But